What's up, guys? It's Crash. Got a little bit of a new camera setup on the channel, so let me know what you guys think of that in the comments down below. I got the bourbon in the background, so it's looking pretty nice back there. Let's go ahead and get into the big news of the day. Battlefield Direct Communication has tweeted the new feedback experience, and what I did, as I always do on this channel, is try to break it down for you quickly. I've read through the blog post, highlighted some key areas, and we'll talk about it. I'll give some reactions to it, and then you guys let me know what you think in the comments. I will try to get through this without being sarcastic and bitter. I will do my best to bring you guys the news, but there's some troubling stuff in here, in my opinion, for sure. So we'll take a look at it. This is the tweet talking about the core feedback loop, and they're starting with maps. So I just feel like overall this is just it almost feels too little too late, but we'll definitely see, and we're going to keep covering the road to redemption or the road off the cliff for this franchise, because it's interesting to me, as I've said in past videos. So they're starting with core feedback for maps, which I just feel like the overall vibe I get from a lot of these things are that this should have been done way earlier. We should have looked at other creators and Battlefield veterans, and some of this stuff should have been taken care of earlier. That's another reason why I wish the beta was a lot earlier, so they had time to do some of this stuff before the game came out, but we know that there was a lot of crunch. So let's go ahead and look over here. I think I have this framed up where you can see it around my head. This is definitely the blog post with feedback of maps. This stuff is just kind of all the stuff we already know. So there's 5 core areas that they're going to talk about. One is traversal. We all know that. Basically summed up, we've seen you use terms such as walking simulator to describe how it feels in the game. Definitely true. We're currently looking to reduce the overall travel time between flags and base spawns on some maps by moving both the base spawn and the closest flag. So it looks like a lot of what they're talking about today are essentially moving flags and base spawns, and I just don't feel like that's enough. If you move the first closest flag closer to the spawn, well, that's just going to make it farther from the next spawn. And the walking simulator and the running simulator is not necessarily just at the first flags, it's between all the flags. So I don't quite understand how moving that first set of flags closer to the base is going to fix the problem when the next set of flags is going to be even farther now. So we'll see. There's some examples down below we'll get into. And they're going to share a link for general feedback thread we've opened up to capture some of this feedback. So on here, they talk about just going to the EA Battlefield forums and giving some stuff back, but there's also some other Discord channels and stuff that they've tweeted out later. I don't know why they don't include this all in one big area for people to get all the information they need. We always have to go hunting for this stuff. So, but I found it, so we'll look at it here at the end. There's some other places you guys can share your feedback. Intensity, talking about how essentially 128 player modes get way too chaotic, and largely we feel that this issue mainly related to 128 player modes, and especially in breakthrough it gets too chaotic when fighting over flags. Yeah, there's no flow. There's just so much going on, you can't understand like where a threat's going to be coming from, and moving across the map is really difficult in my opinion. We are presently reviewing if it makes sense to keep breakthrough as 128 versus 64, or if we feel that a reduction of the total number of vehicles that can spawn ensures they're present. It is overwhelming. The call-in tablet is an issue for gameplay, I feel like, and gives infantry players a more important role. So essentially when they were talking to us about this before the game launched, they said the maps were going to be big and you had the call-in tablet to call in vehicles to move across to other flags. What they didn't tell us is that they were going to put 30 or 50 millimeter cannons on all of the transport vehicles, and that's just where the overwhelming stuff comes from. A lot of the stuff and mechanics in here just aren't working for Battlefield, and I don't know if these changes are going to be enough. Right now we feel that breakthrough on 64 players provides the best experience of breakthrough. I don't understand how it takes us like 3 or 4 months after launch to come to this realization. Many people said after the beta that 64 players was the way to go, and the maps were too big. Our feedback on this started before the game even launched, guys. Line of sight, when we refer to line of sight, we're relating this to how often you're taking fire from enemies at a distance, and they talk about certain areas of kaleidoscope, although this is on all maps. It looks like their process of going through these is really slow right now. They're just talking about kaleidoscope at this point, and that's where the examples come from. They talked about including redesigning our breakthrough experience to move combat into areas of the map where better cover already exists. So essentially they talk about, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in some of Kevin Johnson's, a community manager's tweets, A lot of the stuff they talk about in this blog is just moving flags around, and I don't know if that's enough. There's a few hints at changing some cover in and around objectives and pathing that we'll get into. But essentially what they're saying in here is changing the location of the flags to where there's already better cover on the maps. And I just don't know if I'm going to enjoy playing on these maps if they don't do quite a bit of cover adding and changing, and overall shrinking I feel like would be nice, but I guess that would take a lot of work. Next is paths, not having clear paths towards objectives and bad lanes and bids to push for a flag. So yeah, there's moving, you guys know, moving from objective to objective was not fun. I say was because I haven't been playing it very much. These can be as basic as extracting a 2-minute clip. So this is an example of what they want for feedback. They give an example of extracting a 2-minute clip of you moving from flag to flag and calling out to us experience you've had whilst doing that, good or bad. A lot of this feedback is great. The opportunity to provide it is awesome. I just feel like some of these obvious things like routes and stuff are basic aspects of map design. I know in my video where I talked about the development team, there's not a lot of experienced map designers on the team, and this could be one of the reasons that we're still taking basic feedback like this so late in the cycle. Cover is another thing that I'm personally worried about that I feel like they need to add, and they're not showing. We're 3 to 4 months after launch, we're talking about map reworks, and they're not showing any examples of cover that they're adding. They're not talking about how they're reworking these maps at all. Essentially all they've said up until this point is moving some flags around. The current lack of cover across the maps is another improvement area, which is also caused by the open flat spaces that you have encountered on certain maps. We are looking to address this by reviewing the need for additional cover in places where they feel we're needed. So that's the first time they said they're looking at adding additional cover. So I really hope so. I hope they can kind of finish out these maps. They just don't feel finished to me. And they want to take away that feeling of running into no man's land between objectives. Yes, this, like I said, this was an obvious issue with the game even before launch. So at least, even though it's late, they're definitely checking this stuff out. There's very little across the immediate road and grassy embankments. We're talking about kaleidoscope here. As soon as you're out of the spawn, we feel it's currently too unforgiving for the attacking side. So if you look here, this is what they're talking about. Basically, all they're doing, all they're really doing is moving the A flag down here, the A1 and A2 closer together, essentially making this part of the map void. But I mean, I guess there'd be a flank route to B, but you have to take these first, and you're going to be spawning and starting from here. So a massive flank route to B, I guess, but the rest of the map is essentially unchanged, moving these C flags just a little bit. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I just feel like whenever they want to show us a work in progress or prototype loadout, they would have showed us actual shots of the map. I would have loved to see shots of the map where there's cover and stuff. This, I mean, they moved the flag. Like in this image, they moved the flag. Like, that's it. And I just wish there was more here, more to see, to get people's excitement back and maybe some hope for the game. I really wish they would have done that. And then down here, the issues with this blog post kind of continue. They said, as an example, we've added a heat map below. There's no heat map. So like they said they added a heat map, and there isn't one. This is just another example of conquest where they moved the flags again. They took away, it looks like they took away the A2 flag, moved the C flags down here. They changed this the most, but basically they moved all the flags down to the lower area. Again, I really wish we would have seen some actual map design changes, not just flag moving. I guess that is a part of map design, but you know what I mean, like physical changes to the map. When can we expect these to be live in game? The plans that we've outlined to you today will require substantial development time, and honestly, all they've outlined is changing the flag position. So we want to be transparent that not all of these proposed changes will be available to you in game simultaneously across all of our library of maps. So it looks like they're going to be taking a map or two at a time, and it's going to be a bit of a long process. We're currently planning to deliver updates specifically to Kaleidoscope during Season 1. So no map changes until Season 1, which we know is sometime this summer. So the first maps are going to be working on our Kaleidoscope, and it's going to be this summer. And they've said we'll visit new locations in future seasons, so it sounds like we're still getting new maps. I feel like we're going to get the maps that they're like legally obligated to provide as part of the goal of the Ultimate Editions. This also means we're reviewing a possible reduction in the number of sectors and total capture points per map. This is talking about new maps that we're getting in the future down the road, Seasons 1 and beyond. When playing 120 players, the changes to the shape of the maps give more sense of direction. So changing the shape of the map, so that means I feel like if they're still in the process of changing the shape of the maps are pretty early on in design, as well as types and number of vehicles that can be used on specific maps. I think that is really good. Thoughts and feelings and responses over the official Battlefield forums, but we'll of course be reading other comments across multiple hubs of communities such as Discord, Reddit, and social media. I'm going to give you some more information where you can give feedback in a second. I'll be back later this month to talk to you about the feedback that you've shared and that's enabled us to pursue or inspired us to address. I just feel like a lot of this feedback is pretty obvious, and like it shouldn't take this much to fix the maps. The problems with the maps and the balance are really obvious in my opinion. Hopefully some of this stuff does start to change though. Stating our dedication to continued effort of improving Battlefield 2042. So essentially that is the blog post. I tried to give you a rundown of that as fast as possible and highlight the key points. And then Kevin Johnson, one of the community managers, also said down below that they've added a core feedback section to the official Battlefield Discord, so that's another place you can talk to them about. And then Danny on PC asked if they drained the pool of water, and they didn't. But essentially, this person asked, do you have an image of a version that shows capture area of the flags? And he said this is something we may talk upon at a later time once we've begun to filter through all the feedback and community. Through all the feedback from the community and act upon that feedback. Rest assured you'll be seeing changes. So again, there was a call for people to show some of these changes and map changes and cover changes. I would have loved to seen like a before after of like Kaleidoscope with a bunch more terrain changes, maybe some trees and bushes to move around the maps on, an actual number of what they're going to do with vehicle spawns, and put in some other buildings, finish out the buildings, add some destruction possibly, and just add an overall sense and vibe of war, make the buildings a lot more crumbly and broken, and like more of them covered, finished out with some textures and some character to them, some fires and things in the background showing that this is a massive world war. And it's I don't know, I'm a little disappointed. This almost feels like too little too late, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it over here. Thank you for you guys sticking with me. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, if this is enough to get you excited again about the game. I feel like they're going to have to do a lot more than this. I'm pretty disappointed that all we got to see today was they moved flags around. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you later.